If you're flipping houses and still feel broke, you're not alone, but you're doing it wrong. Most flippers raise just enough money to get the deal closed. The problem is that's not enough to pay yourself, float your business, or even grow. In this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how much money to raise for every deal and how to structure it in the smart way so you don't feel like every single flip that you do is just strangling you, taking money out of your pocket, and you're not getting paid. Let's dive in. All right, the first thing that you need to know is where does all the money go? Okay, so I'm gonna use an example deal. Let's say you're buying a house for $200,000. So this is purchase price, right? And you're gonna put $50,000 of rehab into it. And I know most of you are gonna ask, well, how much am I gonna sell it for? Let's just say we're gonna sell this house for $400K, okay? This is the ARV. Doesn't really matter in this situation, but we wanna make sure it's a good deal. So most people will raise $250,000 or they'll raise something close to that. Maybe it's 90% of the purchase and 100% of the rehab, but the whole goal for most people is they're gonna raise 100%, so raise $250,000. So this is you right now. If I raise $250,000, I'm golden. The problem is there's a bunch of hidden costs. So closing costs on the purchase, right? You gotta pay those. Let's just say in this case, they're 5K, right? I think that's a good estimate in this deal. So we got closing costs. Then we have the actual cost of the money. We're gonna have like some points to pay. And if they take that out up front, you might not actually have to pay it out of your pocket, but it's gonna reduce the cash to close. So points and interest. You might have monthly payments if you're using a hard money lender or somebody that wants monthly payments. This is gonna come out of your pocket right there. And then on top of that, you got other holding costs like insurance. A lot of people overlook this. Let's say insurance on this deal is, let's say we're gonna hold it for 6 months. We're gonna hold it for 6 months. We're gonna buy it, we're gonna fix it up, and 6 months is our timeline, right? Just to put some numbers in here. So insurance, let's say insurance is $1,000 a month on our builder's risk policy. That might be a little high. Let's make it $500 a month. So let's say our insurance is 3K. And I'll get to points and interest in a second. The other things that you don't think about is you gotta mow the grass, you got utilities, you got things like that. You got water, you got power, you might have gas, you gotta pay for that kind of stuff, right? So let's just call it utilities. I mean, this might be as little as, let's call it 2,000, it might even be as little as 1,000, but it starts adding up, right? So we got insurance, we got utilities. Most people will say taxes, but taxes usually gets rolled in. So it's prorated when you buy it, and then you're not holding it long enough to have to pay a tax bill. And even if you are, a tax bill time comes up, you can just wait until after you sell it to pay it potentially. So I usually don't take that money out of my pocket. But these are actual like fixed costs. The other thing is once you wanna put like, it might cost you money to put a sign in the yard or list it on the MLS afterwards if you're not using a realtor or something like that. So just think about all the costs that actually come out of your pocket. So let's use points and interest here. Let's say there's gonna be 2 points on this deal at 250 grand. So that's 5K just for the points. And then let's say it's 12% interest. That's easy math. 250,000, 12% interest on a monthly payment is gonna be $2,500 a month. So for 6 months, that's what? 5, 10, 15K in interest. So this is interest and this is points. So now we're at 20, 35, we're at $40,000. And this is why you're always broke. Let's say you have to come up with 10% of the purchase price, that's 20 grand, and then there's this 40K. There's something else that's missing here though. Let me know in the description while you're watching this if you know what's missing from here that almost every flipper overlooks. So what that is when you're getting this loan for this rehab, you gotta take a rehab draw. The problem with the draw is the hard money lender is going to require you to put that money out up front before they pay it back. So you're actually gonna have to do work to the house to fix up their collateral before they're gonna give you that first draw. And so the only time that you'll have all $50,000 with no outlay of your own money is when it's fully renovated. So that first draw, let's call it $15,000. So draw number 1, and this is a big gotcha. People are like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense when I see it. Let's say it's $15,000 here. And so what that means is I'm gonna do $15,000 of work on the house, and then I'm gonna go out to the hard money lender and get my money back. But I gotta actually do that work first. I gotta buy materials, I gotta pay the crews, all that stuff adds up. So now we're at $55,000 out of pocket, okay? This is why you're broke. Because even if you get 100% financing, you still have to come up with $55,000 over the 6-month period of time. And this is a lot of money out of your pocket. So this is the problem. And this is why you want to raise way more money than what you need. Okay, so here's how to avoid all this, all right? I'm going to erase this real quick, and then I'm going to map out exactly how much money you should raise and how you should structure the deal. All right, same deal, $200,000 purchase price, $50,000 rehab. So if I'm not making monthly payments, so I like to use private money. If you see on my channel, you can go back and look through a bunch of videos. I talk about raising private money, raising capital from friends, family, warm network, people that I know, not hard money lenders. I hate monthly payments. So there's 2 structures that I have when I'm raising money. Structure 1 is no monthly payment. Okay? And then structure 2 is if I have to do a monthly payment. This would be like a hard money loan, okay? Like the example I showed you, where I gotta make a $2,500 a month payment. So with no monthly payments, I'm gonna raise, it's a very simple formula, 110% of the all-in cost. Okay, so what that means is in this deal at $250,000, I'm gonna raise an extra 10%. So $250,000 plus my extra 10% of $25,000, I'm gonna raise $275K for a deal that requires no monthly payments. And here's why. That extra $25K is gonna cover my closing costs, if you remember before, $5K closing costs. My insurance was $3K. My utilities, we said, was $2K. And my draw number 1, which was $15K. So if you look at this, we got 15 plus 5 is 20, plus 3 is 23, plus 2 is 25K. It's magic. It all works almost every time. Raise 110%, you won't feel broke if it's no monthly payments. However, a lot of people use hard money lenders for these that require a monthly payment, and that starts eating your lunch over time. It starts costing a lot of money. So if you've got monthly payments, it works almost perfectly every time. My formula for monthly payments is 115% of all-in costs. Okay, so in this case, 115% is 25 plus 12.5 is 37,500, right? So I'm 250. I might have to do this real quick. 250K plus 37.5K. Now I'm 287,500. So this is how much money I'm gonna raise for this deal if I have a monthly payment. And that's because I'm bringing over this 25, but then I also have those payments every single month. We said it was $2,500 a month times our 6 months, which was, what was that, $15,000 extra, right? So that's for the payments. So in this case, I've got the 25K that we have over here plus 15K. I need an extra 40,000. And you might be thinking, well, Bill, you said only raise 37.5. And the reason for that is by the time I get to these last 2 payments, usually, I get all this draw money back. So I don't need to raise 120%. And so a lot of times I'll teach this and people are like, well, hold on. If I raise more than $250,000, all this money is coming back out of my sale price. And I'm not making as much money. That's not true. That's not true. You're not paying an extra $25,000 back out of your profit. You're not paying $37,500 back out of your profit, okay? So I'm gonna erase this real quick. I'm gonna show you how that works. All right, so let's use the example that we raised an extra $25,000. So raise the $250 plus that extra $25,000 for a total of $275,000, right? Well, remember, you're bringing this money to the table anyway. It's all the payments, it's interest, it's all that stuff, right? The only difference here is you're raising an extra $25,000 instead of using your own money. The reason why you're broke is because you're using your own money or you're using profits from the previous deal that you did. You're not truly using OPM, other people's money. In this case, you're using an extra $25,000. So if you're self-funding this, it's already coming out, and that's why you have a problem. If you fund it with somebody else, the only difference is you're paying interest on this extra $25,000. So let's say it's 10% interest that you raise this money on. That's $1,250 for 6 months, right? So 10% of this would be $2,500 a year. Half of that is $1,250 for 6 months. So what you're doing is, the question that you have to ask yourself is, am I willing to pay $1,250 out of my profit? Because this is the only change that's happening right here. The only change. Am I willing to pay $1,250 out of my profit to not have the headache of always feeling broke and not being able to pay my own bills, my own credit card bills, pay myself, actually take a profit at the end? When you flip this house and make, let's see, $250 and make $80,000, you can actually put it in your bank account, because the next deal you're going to fund at 110 or 115%. You're not going to put any of your own money into the deal. You might have some overhead, operating costs, things like that, but you're not going to put any of your own money in. So this is the only difference. And it'll be slightly higher if you raise $37,500. So let me erase this and show you exactly how to structure this deal, because you might be like, well, who's going to lend on something like this? At $275,000, you're still at a really good LTV here. But let's structure it. I'll show you exactly how to do that, and I'll break it down real quick. And then in the comments, just let me know if you want more of that. Like, how do I structure a deal? How do I go through promissory note? And on the next video, I'll actually break down some of the how to do this more. All right, so in this case, most people are gonna get 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab from a hard money lender. So let's just say that that's what we're gonna do, hard money lender. Now, if you're in 7-figure flipping in my mastermind program, one of our coaching programs, you get 100% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab. And most people, like we talked about, think that it ends there, but it doesn't. Like, you actually have to raise more money. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I'll put a link in the description of this video about how you can sign up to apply or talk to one of my team about our mastermind group at 7-figure flipping. All right, so let's use this math, right? So we got 180,000, so 10% off of that, 180,000 and then 50. So 230,000 is gonna come from the hard money lender, right? And then if we're using this hard money lender, we gotta raise 110% or 115%, like I said, right? So now we got our 250, and we wanna add in that 37,500. So now we're at 287,500. So we got 230, we need to raise another 57,500. So this 57,500 is where I'm gonna go out to a PML, private money lender. I'm gonna go reach out to my warm network, my friends, my family, people like that, and go find about 60 grand, okay? So the hard money lender is gonna come in first position. That should be easy money to get, right? And then this money I'm gonna put in second position, or I'm gonna get on a promissory note. Okay, so second position mortgage or a promissory note, then I'm gonna borrow this money from the private money lender, and this is gonna be no monthly payments. I'm gonna bring this in on a balloon. I'm gonna get a 1-year term, no prepayment penalty, get it on a balloon at the lowest interest rate that I possibly can that makes sense for the private money lender. And I'm gonna structure it that way. So on the next video, I'll show you exactly how to structure this. I'll show you how to structure the deal. I'll show you the promissory note. I'll show you all that kind of stuff. We'll walk through all of that because I think that would be really helpful. But if you do this, 110% of no monthly payment deal or 115% of monthly payment deals, you will never feel broke again. This will solve all your problems. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, send it to a friend that might need some help, or another flipper that always feels broke. I'll see you on the next one.